So there's not a lot of info on these older Yanmars, and I say there is a lot of info on old Yanmars. This particular motor is a Yanmar 2QM15, and there's a 2QM20 version, which is a 15 and a 20 horsepower. Anyways, this motor was only made from 1977 through 1980, I believe, maybe 81. So I bought this motor, all of the fuel lines were loose. It came out of an older sailboat, 468 hours on it, real low hours, but it sat up for a while, so injectors wasn't pumping. So I was able to pull. This was originally the rear injector, oh, the pump, injector pump. So when I first got it, I couldn't get, like, I cleaned them, freed them up, got all the gum out of it. This pump was pumping diesel. This one would not, no matter what I did. So I was able to get it running. Took a long time to start, but in between, you know, it's a 2-cylinder and they fire at different times. So in between strokes, I get a puff of black smoke, puff of white smoke. That let me know that the cylinder that wasn't getting fuel, you know, obviously it wasn't burning the fuel. It was white smoke. But that was after I got the pump a little bit. So anyways, cleaned some more, played some more, and I was able to get both of them to pump fuel. The front one pumped strong enough to run. The rear one would just barely pump out a little bit. It was enough to puff white smoke. Anyway, it did run. After many hours and hours of research, I have found that used parts are available for these things. I found a refurbished injector pump, complete setup, $1,600. A lot of places that show they have it in stock do not actually have this pump. So I started looking at the bolt pattern, the lifter height and all that, and I wish I had the pump out to show you, but it's not out. You can just, you know, YouTube some videos on the Yanmar and Kubota injection pumps. They're almost all the same design, but this one, I found no other pump from their Yanmar tractor line. The only one that was close was the YM 1700 tractor. It's really close. It's so close to where I'd have to buy it and see if it fits, and I wasn't willing to do that. But I can get those pumps for $500-600. Part numbers are all different. I was able to find a vendor in Europe that had an original OEM Yanmar. This is the old one, but they had the original OEM Yanmar injector pump, piston, and sleeve. It's not the correct professional term for it, but the part numbers were 2 digits off. Like, say it was a 10-digit part number, they had a -02 at the end. This was a -00. So there was a difference in the part number. Couldn't find no literature saying what the difference is upon arrival. And yesterday I pulled all this apart. It was identical. Everything was identical. But one thing I did note, let's see if I can hold the phone. I have a phone holder here. So the way this works is this is stationary. This is the liner, I suppose, and this is a piston. And the little cutaway, this rotates as you give it throttle. So I'm not getting into all that aspect of it. So the way this works is it probably only moves this much. That little bit of movement. So I'm assuming that little slot, that little hole lines up, lets the fuel in, and it compresses. And if I block the holes, it does make pressure. So upon cleaning these things a couple times, I mean, they move smooth, hardly no resistance. I thought it was fine. What I learned yesterday is when I got that new one, the new one was about that far in, and it's been sitting on the shelf since 1983 is what the guy told me. Like, these things are really rare to find. So I was lucked out and I found a Yanmar one in the Yanmar box sitting on the shelf since the 80s. So the new one was so tight, I thought something was wrong with it. I had to use a punch to tap it apart. And what I realized is this is like the 2-stroke nitro engines on RC cars. When the piston gets to the top, the cylinder and piston have what's called pinch. This has no pinch. So when it gets to the top, it's really tight. And that tightness is what's compressing the diesel up into the injector. So the little bit that this is worn, even though it makes pressure, I can block it. It's like a syringe. It makes suction right now. See how it's falling out? It's bypassing. So I thought it was interesting to share along that just because you pull this apart, you're not getting fuel. If your piston and sleeve, or not the professional names now, if they're loose like this, that is going to be your problem. It's not enough to actually compress. The diesel's actually bypassing the piston a very minute amount, but it's not enough. So this is a non-glow plug engine. So say the compression is 400 psi of compression in the cylinder. This injector pump has to put out more than 400 psi to compensate for that pressure in the cylinder. Man, I thought I had an extra Kubota pump to show you how this thing comes apart, but it's a really delicate. I've done Kubotas a lot, and they're a little simpler to pull apart than this. So when you move the throttle, there's a lever in here that moves side to side, and it attaches to a lever on the pump. Well, that lever is attached to some gears on some collars that rotate. As it rotates, remember I told you this piston needs to rotate to open and close the fuel. So all that's got to be timed, lined up. Thankfully, being this is so hard to put together and get it right, they made one of the gears that roll on the shaft, it's like a cam. You can loosen the bolt and adjust it the way you want it and tighten it up. So it's very critical to get the gears lined. The gears are timed. You have timing shims as well. There's a bunch of springs, shims, and tiny little parts in here. I don't recommend you pull this apart right here on the dirt. I went do it, you know, in back my side by side, spread out some towels. I mean, I still almost lost some stuff. But I just wanted to pass along, just because your stuff's moving free doesn't mean it's gonna pump fuel. So once I put the new one in, this thing pumps like it's pretty strong. But it took a good while. I had to held the decompression lever, and I cranked this thing for a good 2 or 3 minutes, and fuel wasn't coming out that pump. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I put something together wrong. So what I wound up doing was squirting some WD-40 inside here, filled it up, and I kept, you know, stroking it, turning it over with a decompression lever, and it was sucked down to the WD-40. Well, eventually, once it was full, all of a sudden it just picked up its prime and started shooting fuel. So another thing to note, if you pull these off, like when I get these motors, I buy, sell, and trade these all the time, not running. First thing I check is I'll pull the injectors, verify if I'm getting fuel or not. If I'm not getting fuel, I'll pull it here. And if the pumps aren't pumping fuel, look, if you don't have a stream, a 16th inch round shooting up a couple inches, it's not going to be enough to run this engine. So you got to better be shooting fuel. Not just barely bubbling out is not enough to run. That's what this one was doing after I cleaned it a few times. It was barely overflowing out. It's not enough. It's nothing. So this thing's got to squirt. Now if you pull the injector out, which I don't recommend, it's a dangerous thing because it's high pressure, and you try to run it with just the injector spraying, that's a high pressure fine mist spray pattern. I don't get into all that. You know, my main thing is to get fuel going through and try to run it. So that was the purpose of this video. Later on, if I find my other pump that's similar, I'll do a video pulling apart. There are a bunch of Kubota fuel pump videos, and it's pretty similar, but I find to get this one together, what I had to end up doing was I had to pull the top off, and obviously the pump's out in a vise. I had to get some clear, like aquarium hose that fit around this, and it fit inside the little collar that rotates, and I passed it through the pump and I stabbed it on here, because this slot has to line up, and you also have to line up the fuel injector, what do you call it, the little rod. All that's got to be lined up, and this has to go in, and there's like similar to a valve stem clevet in a top, that all that's got to go on with the spring at the same time, and then put a pin in with one hand. It's difficult. Without that hose holding this in place, I was never able to get this thing together. So thanks for watching, and I'll include a video of this thing running. It's still got some little quirks. I got some fuel leaks, so it takes a little while of cranking, but these engines are notorious. It was something to do with the return line on the filter. A lot of mechanics back in the day put the return line going straight to the tank. They're saying that this return line is creating air inside the filter, so they're hard to start. In this case, I bypassed this filter and just ran it straight off of here, but this hose is leaking. It's just something I bought cheap and I want to use for a boat and possibly resell, but I need to get it running. So now it's running, I can move forward. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'll try to help out the best I can. I'm not a diesel mechanic. I am sort of a jack of all trades type mechanic. I work on everything, so you got to learn how to fix your own stuff. And there are thousands of people buy these sailboats and they're out in the middle of the Atlantic, whatever. You know, you got to use your engine sometimes, and if your engine breaks, a lot of these sailors have to learn how to be mechanics because there's no one coming to get you, you know. But anyway, thanks for watching. Give it a like if this video helped you. And this is some say it's a 14 horse. Yanmar on their website says it's a 15 horsepower. And as my other little project is a 14 horsepower Kubota 2-cylinder. And I just kind of piled them, clean it up, so I'll just move this out the yard. I machined the shaft with a keyway so I can use it for other projects. And that's a very expensive, hard to find Toyota R154 transmission from a Supra. It's for another project. Thanks for stopping by.